In this video, I'm going to show you the very simplest way to make collision that works amazingly in PICO-8. Even if you're brand new to PICO-8, brand new to game development, you're going to understand what's going on here. All right. And you can make it so, he actually hits things and stops and, he can move along the sides and everything. And so if you've had trouble with collision, boy, this is the one. Okay. So let's take a look at how this works. Hit escape a couple times. And here is our code. So what we're doing is we have our three callbacks here. We have init, update, and draw. And in the init, all we're doing is setting up our player. So this is a player table. We just have a couple properties for our player. We have player.x is 60, player.y is 60. So that's just the player's location. And then what we're doing is we're clearing the sprite, we're drawing the map, and then we're drawing the player at that x and y location. His sprite is number 2. That's pretty much it, other than this move player function. All right, so this is a custom function. And let's scroll down and look at that player function. This is where all the magic happens. This move player function, before the player moves, the first thing we're going to do is save the player's location on X. Okay, so we're just making a variable. This is LX, and we're saving that player's location. Then if the user hits the right button, then we're going to add 1 to the player X location. If you hit the left button, then you're going to take away 1. All right, so this is normal movement. The difference is that we've saved that location before that. Then we're going to ask if we collide, then we're just going to move it back to where it was. Okay, so we're going to take our player and move him. And then if he's on top of a wall or someplace he shouldn't be, we're just going to move him back. Okay, this is the simplest way to do it. Now, how do we check if the player is actually over a wall? Well, that's this collide function. Okay, so this collide function, this is going to return true or false if the player is on top of a wall. So let's go take a look at what that does. So this is our collide function. What we're doing is, first of all, just setting a couple of variables. And the first one is top left, TL. And we're just taking the player X and the player Y, and we're putting this into a table. So we're going to have TL.x, which is the player X, and TL.y, which is the player.y. Okay, so that is the upper left corner of our sprite. Then we have the bottom right, which is the player X plus 7, which is going to be over here. And then the player Y plus 7, which is going to be over here. So that's going to be the bottom right of the sprite. So we basically have 2 corners of this sprite. Now, we're going to use that to actually get all 4 corners of the sprite. We just don't need to define them all right here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make 4 other variables, C1, C2, C3, and C4. Okay, these are C for corner. Each one is going to start with fget. So this is a command that just gets the flag of a sprite. And so normally this is written as fget, and then we have the sprite number. All right. So if we want to get the flag of sprite 1, we would say fget 1 like this, and that can return the flag number of the sprite. If we have another argument here, this comma 0, we could say fget 1 comma 0, and that's going to test to see if this sprite has flag 0. And so if sprite 1 has flag 0, this is going to return true. If not, it'll be false. This is really, really important. And here in our sprites, we have sprite 1, and in fact, we have flag 0 enabled right here. This is the flag that I like to use for something that's solid that the player can't pass through. So we're just going to click that flag. And then instead of just typing the sprite number, we're going to find the sprite that the player is over, at least in the upper left-hand corner. The way that we do that is with this command called mget. That's short for mapget. And what it will do is you give it a coordinate on the map. So for instance, right here is 7, 7. That's 7 tiles to the right and 7 tiles down. And it will tell you what sprite is in that tile. So this one doesn't have a sprite, but if we go to tile 6, 5, that's going to be sprite 1. And so what we're doing is we're finding the upper left-hand corner of our player, and we're going to figure out what tile that's over. The way that we do that is we take this top left location that we got from the players X and Y, and we divide each one by 8 because the player's location is going to be in pixels which is going to be between 0 and 128, and we divide it by 8. That's going to give us how many tiles over it is, because these are 8 pixel tiles. And so if he's 80 pixels to the right, this is going to be 8. And if he's 80 pixels down, this is going to be 8. So it's going to be 8, 8. It's going to look at 8, 8 and figure out what sprite is there. If there's no sprite there, there's not going to be a flag. But if there is a sprite there, it's going to test and see which flag there is. And if it's a solid tile that we've tagged with flag 0, then that fget is going to say, yes, this sprite that we went and got with mget, that is 0. And because we're testing for 0, this is going to be true. So C1 is true. And we do the exact same thing for all 4 corners of the sprite. So we have our sprite here. C1 is this corner. C2 is top left X and bottom right Y, which would be right here. C3 is bottom right X and top left Y, which would be right here. And then the other corner would be down here. And so it's going to do that same test for all 4 corners of our sprite and return true or false if any of these corners are over a sprite on our map that is flagged with this flag 0. So C1 is going to be true or false, C2 is true or false, 3 and 4 are each going to be either true or false. Then this is the magic. This is what we do. We type return. Return is a really cool thing. What it will do is it will basically replace wherever we called this function with whatever result we want. And so if we want to return 10 plus 10, it's going to turn collide into 20 up here where we called it. So then it would be if 20, and that's not really going to make any sense. But what we can do is we can have this return true or false. And what's really nice is we could just say return C1, which would just return whether C1 is true or false. Or we can test for multiples by just saying or. We can return C1 or C2 or C3 or C4. And what this means is that if any of these are true, it's going to return true. Otherwise, it's just going to return false. Now, here's what's great. It's going to do all that thinking right here in this function. And if any of the corners of our sprite are over somewhere that it shouldn't be, this movement that we just did on the x-axis, it's just going to undo that. It's going to put that player right back where it was. And so as my player moves, if I try and go into the wall, it's not going to move into the wall because it's thinking about it before it even draws that sprite interacting with the wall. And it just won't let that sprite go through that wall. And we're doing the exact same thing on the y-axis. We're saving our y location, we're moving the player, and then we're testing that collision. And if it's anywhere it shouldn't be, then we're just moving it back. All right? I'll show you a little debug of this real quick. Let's just enable this print right here. This is going to just show us the result of collide. And I'm also going to turn off it moving the player back and actually doing the collision. Here we go, save run. And now I can go through the walls, but look what happens. As soon as I touch those walls with my green guy, that word up in the upper left turns to true. So as soon as I'm overlapping any of these purple walls, it switches to true. And that's from that collision function, all right? So if you can get your collision function to return true or false reliably, if you're over something, then all you have to do is test for that and move it back to the location where it was before you moved. Now, I know some people are going to say, this is wasteful to actually move the player and then move it back. Why don't you just test to see if he can move before you move it? It's almost exactly the same amount of work. It's not going to slow it down to do it this way. It's just totally not a problem to do it like this, and it's much easier to understand. It's a lot less complicated. And yeah, I hope that helps you with your collision in PICO-8. If you want to download this little project and just kind of use it as your starter project so you can get some collision working early on in your game, all you have to do is click the link in the description and you can get this for free, all right? And if you want to learn more about making games in PICO-8, I actually have a whole course on that. There's a link to that in the description too. Thanks for playing with me, you sweet friend. Look at our little guy. He's ready for adventures.